So many people joining. It's a good day. 10:03. All right. I'm going to reiterate this one more time. If you want to chat in questions for our panelists as we get started, please use the chat feature only. If you put something in Q&A, I'll just kind of bring it up from time to time to chat it in. And so please drop all of our questions in the chat, not be monitoring Q&A. So good morning. I'm Dustin Rawls from THEC. And so we are excited for our webinar for Tennessee session today, discussing direct admissions. And so I want to turn it over very quickly. We have three panelists joining us today to discuss direct admissions. We've got Mark Pativiok from our agency, we've got Tanya Martin, and we have Jenna Young. And so they are going to introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about how they arrived here, and then we're going to hop into all things direct admission for our time together today. So let's kick it off to you, Mark, first. Mark, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you, how you got here, and then we'll hop into direct admissions after that.
Perfect. Dustin, you nailed it. Potiviok, Mark Potiviok. My dad was from Thailand, just in case you were wondering. I am the direct admissions project manager with THEC. So all things direct admissions comes to me. I was previously on a Gear Up grant, Gear Up at MMPS or Gear Up Nashville. And I was a site coordinator at Stratford High School. And so I will pass it to my former coworker on the grant, Jenna Young.
Yeah, hi everybody. Like Mark said, we worked on the Gear Up grant together. I was based at Nashville State Community College, but currently I am a college and career counselor at Leeds Southeast High School in Nashville, kind of in the Antioch, Glencliff area.
Excellent,
And
thank you.
Tony, take.
Yeah, so my name is Tanya Martin. I am the Director of Strategic Enrollment Technology at the University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. I also am a former TRIO, I think this is just what it is, a former TRIO employee, worked for an educational opportunity center, and also have worked in financial aid at UTC and admissions IT. So a little bit of all that background.
Excellent. Thanks to the three of you. We've had about 40 people join since your welcome started. So again, if you have questions that come up, put them in the chat, not Q&A. So let me do this first to all three of you. I'm going to make an assumption that there's maybe a few people in here that are unfamiliar with direct admissions. So Mark, I'll softball toss this one to you. This will get the ball rolling. Just go ahead and lay out in general terms a short version of direct admissions and kind of where we stand.
This past fall, in year one, we started direct admissions here in Tennessee. It is one of the biggest research projects to happen around education. Our two partners in that research are University of Wisconsin and Harvard School of Education in Making Care in Common. So we partnered with them. They brought this idea to us here at THEC of making the college admissions process a little bit simpler for students. So when a student completed their Tennessee Promise application, the information come to us, and we generated a letter based on their GPA and ACT that we had on file at that point in time. And we sent them a list of institutions that they were eligible for admission into. And so we had 57 partner institutions, including TCATs, community colleges, and four-year institutions. So a student got a letter, and based on their treatment group, they got other information. Some got financial aid information on there, merit-based and state-based merit-based aid. So it went to the students. Those letters were mailed out in December. At that point in time, they could scan the QR code or access their enrollment page, and they got to choose which schools they would like to attend, which ones they would want their information sent to. And at that point in time, the institutions reached out and started admitting the students and getting a little bit more information and just simplifying the whole process. So, what used to take hours of applications, multiple applications. It was one application, the Tennessee Promise application that, most students do in Tennessee. And so once they did that, they got a list of institutions they were eligible for, and the process was moving forward pretty quickly. Do you think I missed anything there, Dustin?
I don't. So in general terms, like, why was this a decision for Tennessee at this time? Like, what led us to the? I know there's a research project going on, but so help everybody understand that.
Why it came about?
Sure.
So Taylor Odell brought the idea to us. He's from University of Wisconsin about how we can make this simpler, a simpler process for our students here in Tennessee. With that research comes a lot of information for us and how we can help students and all of our different types of students here in Tennessee. And we are lucky here in Tennessee to have something like Tennessee Promise that gets a lot of traction and a lot of people doing. And so we had that kind of mechanism that would allow us to get the information from students and be able to generate these letters. And at THEC, we have that information because Tennessee Promises our program. So with us being able to have that information and then having the backing of the research, I think we got a lot of institutions that wanted to join us. And now we are able to, 57, that's a lot of institutions involved. A lot of the other direct admissions in other states are not that big. 57 institutions, that's
Mhm.
that's quite a few people that wanted to participate with us. And so it just seemed like the right time to be able to make this adjustment and just move forward. And so, yeah, that's kind of how it came about. We got the idea, our partners jumped on with us and we just kind of ran with it.
All right, so that links up a great question for me, a follow-up, and this is going to be for all three of you, so all of our panelists. You're wrapping up year one. I'd like all of your feedback. How has it gone? Anybody can go, but yeah, just talk to us about your perspectives, your experience regarding this last year.
Yeah, so I'm happy to jump in first. So from the college university perspective, it's been a great opportunity because it's given us the opportunity to be in front of students that maybe we had not reached through traditional means of recruitment. And so this way we ended up in everybody's mailbox that was in the pilot. One way or another, they had heard of our institution, but also bigger picture saw the options that they had for college that maybe they had not thought about before, or maybe had not thought about applying to X university or X TCAP program. And so I think having that option land in their mailbox, via real mail versus email, was a great opportunity and an exciting opportunity that may have opened some doors for students that they hadn't really thought about before. And so giving that opportunity, I think, is really huge for our students without having to jump through the 75 applications you need to do for every institution, to then fill out scholarship applications if that's needed, and do you have to have it for this school or that school. It's all in one spot. And so I think that will make it a lot easier for our students going forward.
I'm going to circle back to you with a follow-up when our other two panelists answer this question, Tanya.
I can speak on it from the college counseling standpoint. So when students got their letter, I saw the biggest impact on students who were kind of maybe had not fully engaged in the college application process, which I think is really kind of the target group for this pilot. Of course, we had students who by December had already, applied to all of their schools, had done early decision places, but we also had a lot of students who had not finished their applications. So getting this letter opened their eyes to a lot of schools that they either one didn't realize existed or two didn't realize they could get into. My school also was part of the financial aid or merit-based scholarship pilot, so they had that information under each school. They could see, what kind of aid they would get there. And so even for our students who had already done their applications, they started to realize, oh, but at this school, I'm actually eligible for the presidential scholarship. And I didn't even realize that. So I think it brought a lot of awareness at school and started a lot of conversations about colleges that students hadn't already looked at, and also simplified their process for them, because it made applying much easier.
Mark?
So I'm going to be honest with you all. It was a very big learning year for me and for us at THEC in terms of just the general impact of this, good, bad, all the middle. We've learned a lot this year. And so listening to the Tanya, and listening to Jenna, like, and listening to all the partners that have come and expressed anything to us, we've learned a lot. And there was some goods, like Jenna said, we're getting the information out. They're starting to get a clearer picture. We're starting to get a lot of students to engage with us. And there are things that we realize that, we've got to address. Some of those things were on us through the research project, and some of those things that we've heard, like the timing of the letters, that is something we're looking at, and making sure we're addressing. And the biggest thing is we want you to know that we're listening and we're hearing these things. And as we move forward into year two, we're trying to address as many things as we can that make sense within the time frame that we have to move forward with year two. But yeah, it's for me as the direct admissions project manager, it's been a lot of learning, but it's been great learning and being able to meet great people and hearing how we can make this better and make it like big for everybody, not just little pockets of students in here and there, but every student here in Tennessee. So,
Tanya, I'm curious. Could you answer, why did UTC choose to participate in the program, in the pilot?
Sure.
I would love to hear that answer.
Yeah, so we had an internal discussion, of course, with everybody on campus, and the opportunity was just too good to pass up. I mean, it's work and prospective students that we would get without having to go do name buys or go into that, of course, we're in the high schools and we're going and we're doing, but to be able to present to the parent, number one, because they're getting it in the mailbox at home, materials to the parent, and being able to, like I said, reach the student no matter if they were interested in us or not to begin with. They didn't have to do anything to initiate contact with us. We are initiating contact with them. So I think that opportunity to, spread UTC, across the state for students that may not have even thought about UTC previously. So I think it was a great opportunity. I think going forward too, and I'll shift a little bit because I want to go talk a little bit too about the things that we'd like to see, wrapping up year one, the things we're excited about, and kind of the things we're still struggling with, I guess is the good way to put it. I know there are a lot of guidance counselors on this call, so I think I'm going to do a little plea here for some of us. But so the cool thing about this program is, yes, it is just as easy as logging in, selecting our institution, and hit go. You have applied to those colleges. They don't need to go also do a Common App or the university application or any other application to get admitted to the institutions. And so for a lot of our students, I think they thought they also still had to apply. And so we get a lot of duplicate applications from students, and it slows the process down a little bit. So we're trying to work through and figure that out. But I think the big thing to remember is them logging in and selecting their 3 institutions means they are accepted to those institutions. There's nothing else they need to do. Now, there is the follow-up that has to happen. We still need a high school transcript. We still need the ACT score sent to us because we're getting that baseline information from the program, but as far as being able to place a student, say, in their English and math classes and such, we still need their ACT scores so that we can see those sub-scores in English and math. We still need a transcript right now, not just the final high school transcript, but we want one now so that we can make sure that we correctly paste them in courses and that they have the requirements they need to get in. So, that's probably our biggest plea, and what we're trying to finish up with year one is chasing those last documents for students that we have already admitted. But we need that information before they, come visit us for orientation or, get enrolled in classes because those are the things we need to help make sure that they get put in the right classes. So I think that would be probably my biggest plea is the follow-up that we still need to do for year one. Excited to kick off year two, but we're still really working in year one, trying to make sure that we can seal the deal with those students.
I'm a big fan of pink elephants. How do y'all feel about pink elephants? Okay, I know nobody can answer but the 3 of you. So anyway, we keep referring to year two. Let's go ahead and address year 2 a little bit, so that way we can hop into the questions that are coming into chat. So we've had a discussion about year 2. For Mark and I, we work at the same agency. Our boss is in on this meeting, Brett. So Brett Gibson, I'm going to ask a general question that I'm going to ask Brett to answer. And that is, and you're going to have to turn your microphone on. Let us see that handsome face. But let's go ahead and talk about the pink elephant. And that is, what is the future of direct admissions in Tennessee? Is the permanent program? What does it look like as we're moving into year 2? Go ahead and speak to that for everybody that's attending, and then we'll circle back to start answering some questions. So, Brett, go ahead and talk to us.
It's a good question, Dustin. And I'll give the typical lawyer answer. As many of you know, I'm a recovering attorney. It depends. THEC, we are a learning agency. As Mark sort of highlighted, we've learned a lot with this. We are not in the business of starting permanent programs without evidence or without some indication of value or proof that it works. That's why we jumped on this RCT when it was made available to us. This was not a new idea. Obviously, this had been going on for more than a decade in more than a dozen states across the country. I think Dr. Odell could probably correct me if I'm wrong. I think all the states that have started are still doing it, by the way, which should give you some indication. But while we are waiting on the results of this RCT, this randomized controlled trial, which will probably be a year before we have final results. The one thing that we heard overwhelmingly again and again from the K-12 community and from the colleges that are participating in the program is the one thing that they didn't like about it, or two things. One was the letter is a little late in the year, and we knew we could fix that going forward. But two was that we did have that control group. About a third of high school students were the control group, so they didn't get a letter. And so since we are going to have some time before we have actual results, and we have the mechanisms in place, and we have learned so much, and we have so much positive feedback, it seemed like a miss to not try to expand it to all high schoolers this year for the class of 2027. And while we won't have an RCT on that year, we won't have those, sort of scientific results, we will get a lot of outcomes, and we'll learn more. And then, as Mark has said, or I think he will say, we have a sort of a focus group of admissions folks from the institutions that participated in the pilot. They're going to help us. This is going to be their program as much as it is anybody else's. They're going to help us decide what's best for them. And of course, we have the same sort of focus groups with school counselors and K-12 and college access and you name it. So I hope that I answered that question. But we're not in the business of just creating permanent programs without some backing, if that makes sense.
It does. I'm actually going to do a direct follow-up. So you referenced feedback and some of the so I know that the data and the research is embargoed because it's a research project. So we really won't know anything for some time. Do you have learned of any anecdotal is not the right word, but any unofficial evidence or feedback from the colleges that are telling us, here's what we're seeing, something that is some good news that that verifies kind of what we thought would happen?
That's for Mark, right?
No, sure.
Honestly, no. Mark's been in every meeting with every institution, so I think obviously he can answer that a lot better than I can. Yeah.
So, Mark, yes, go.
And I'll chime in to Tanya after this, since you are one of our institutions. You can kind of tell us about yours. But I have been in institutional meetings. I had one this morning with a lot of our institutional partners. They are seeing numbers coming in, but like Tanya said, the next piece is ensuring that they're following up with the next steps. So at this point, I think it's a good a place to say the enrollment form is still open. They can get access to it through their TSAC student portal. They can scan their QR code on their letter and get there and still claim their spots and complete their enrollment page. That is open all the way through June 1st. I would stress that this is a good thing for all of our students, making sure that we are, they have a plan or a backup plan, or just even if they're like, you know what, I don't want to go. I've heard that before. But just saying, hey, like this is an opportunity for you to still claim your spot. Now, on the institutional side, I know that they are getting a lot of names, and it's the follow through from the student, and chasing transcripts and chasing ACTs on the institutional side. They are excited that they are seeing the numbers come through, but it's those next steps to fully enroll them and fully get them prepared to start in the fall. And so just making sure that we're working through the process of that. But Tanya, I'll let you speak on that a little bit more if you would like.
Yeah. So, I mean, I can say roughly half the applications that we've gotten through Tennessee Direct Admission are new applications for us. So, and it's despite us, our application opened in August. And so, we had a few months of applications already coming in, free application week, all those things. And so we had quite a few, but then to get half of the ones we've gotten are new from this program has been pretty impressive. And truthfully, even those that we've got that aren't new tells us you are really interested in coming to UTC. If you've already done our app and you did this, that's a better indicator for us, but we're already seeing pretty high numbers of those, following through, continuing to turn in documents and submit documents to us, following the emails that we send them, saying, hey, we still need a couple of things, but also then go ahead and signing up for orientation this summer, which is kind of our next step to know you're really serious and doing housing apps and those things. So we are kind of tracking those numbers as well. But we are seeing a pretty solid follow through on the part of the students that have selected our institution on the application.
Jenna, I'm going to come to you because I don't want you to get ignored. I'm worried about you doing nothing over there. And so I want to go ahead and before I start getting into the Q&A, I want to pose the same question to you. Tell us about a direct admission success story. Tell us about something that happened and share with us from your perspective. And I'm going to label you, lump you into a high school counselor, college career coach, all the above. Would you just share with us briefly before I hop into the Q&As?
Yeah, absolutely. I am thinking specifically in the financial aid part. I had a student who, had applied to a lot of places, but had not applied to Fisk, and wasn't on their radar, hadn't thought about it. And when they got their letter, they saw that they were eligible for the presidential scholarship, which is like, really large. I don't want to speak incorrectly, but I think it almost is full tuition, just based on the student's GPA and ACT. I really think it was pulling the ACT as well, that helped get that financial aid data. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait, this is where I can go and afford. And so, now it is at the top of the student's list. That they haven't fully made their decision, but I would say like that's been a really, really, really huge thing. And we've seen that with other students too, especially, I will say for the UTs. It is also, students think about UTK, but sometimes they don't think about the other UTs. And this has really made them think about the other UTs and realize that they could go potentially for free, depending on their family's income and depending on their merit-based aid. And so, yeah, it has made my job as a counselor a lot easier because that financial aid information is coming in before their actual financial aid packages at other places. And so although I know the letter came in December, I think just we were really lucky to be in the financial aid pilot. And it really, really, really helped me.
I don't think I could have written a better answer and scripted it to you than what you just gave. So that is such a perfect example of our hope for the program. So thank you so much for that feedback and insight. All right, ladies and gents, let's hop into these questions. So I'll go through these. Panelists, just hang tight. We'll hop in and out of questions and go to some other canned questions. So this will be open to any of you that have feedback to any of these because I haven't pre-read them. I'm reading them in real time. So will we, as school counselors, be able to run reports for our students to see the list of schools and scholarship offers that were listed in their letter that was mailed out? That would be beneficial to access their individual lists and better help support our students. So will they be able to run a report to see? I guess that's really a Mark one, but
yes, that's a That's a great question. In year one, our limitations at this current moment with the system and everything, we are not going to be able to supply that. But as we moved into year two, we heard a lot of that from the counselors, and that is something we are working on to ensure that we can give to the counselors, because we know that information. I would have loved that information as a college advisor, and we understand that it's a big need. So we are definitely working through that with our programming people, with the hopes that we will be able to supply you some type of information in year two. Yeah.
I'm going to plead forgiveness. I was reading ahead and not listening to. Did we talk about one of our intents for year two, including the letter sent to their home, that we're going to batch letters to send to counselors? Did you just mention that and I miss it?
I did not. But I don't know if we fully addressed year two. So I will
let's
just
not.
No, I'd like so year two, we're looking at opening it up, as Brett said, to all class of 2027. That is including private schools and homeschoolers. And so again, our mechanism to get their information and to be a part of the program, as it was in the first year, was the Tennessee Promise application. So when your students finished or completed their Tennessee Promise application, as long as they were in our 255 randomly selected public schools, they got their letter in December. Moving into year two, we've heard things, so we're opening it up statewide. One and two, we're moving the letter mailing up earlier, and that's kind of why we're opening Tennessee Promise April 1st, and it's so that we can start getting more students involved earlier. And it aligns with the September College Awareness and Exploration Month. And so we're hearing you all, we're hearing that the letters came out late. That was something we heard from all sides. And so that's why we're opening up April 1st, the Tennessee Promise, because that is our mechanism to move forward. So year two, we're looking to get the letters out earlier, and we're looking to, again, we heard this from you all, to get letters to the student, and then also letters to the schools. They'll be batch mailed. That is our goal for now. And so you all will have a batch of letters come to the schools, and then the students will also get their letters mailed to the house.
Thank you. So the next question is there software or website student needs to log in, enroll in, interact with? So let's just talk about the QR code in the letter, how that works. So, because that's ultimately where you're headed. So go ahead and talk to us about that, Mark.
So in this year, we sent out the letters in December. On the letter, there's a QR code that takes them to their personalized enrollment page. On that enrollment page, it kind of mirrors what's on their letter. So the institutions that are on their letter are also on their enrollment page. So then a student will select their place there, answer some questions, and then that's how it gets to us. If they don't have their letter anymore, they still have access to get to that enrollment page through logging into their TSAC student portal. So once they log in there, at the very top, there'll be a blue banner that says "Click here to follow to go to your enrollment page for Tennessee Direct Admissions." They'll click that blue banner. They'll go and be able to select their spot. It's the same as scanning their QR code. So next year it will follow the same. We will send a personalized QR code to the student, but they will also get access through their TSAC student portal.
We'll stay inside the portal. Why can't students see the list of schools who accepted them in their TSAC account and the ones that they accepted? That would be beneficial. That would be helpful. So, continue down that trail.
So this is a little bit how the tea is made. Our system, it needs a lot of time to build out, and we have a lot of information on there, so we have to ensure that it passes STS and security and all the different things. So there is a bit of time for us to get things to be housed onto our system, and some things just cannot be housed on our system and may take 5 years or a totally different program to get it done. So our enrollment page is not linked to our TSEC student portal. It's a totally different website and a different program that runs it. So it gets the information from that gets uploaded to the TSEC student portal, and then that's how we get it to the universities. So when they choose their spot on the enrollment page, there's a place for them to put their email address. That is where it's getting mailed currently, which schools they have applied to. And so we are stressing to everybody to ensure that they're putting in the correct email address there, and it gets emailed to them. Sometimes it's going to their spam. Sometimes it's getting in the junk folder. Just make sure. And so if they put in the wrong email address, it ultimately gets sent back to me as an error. And I see that's happening a lot, that the students are putting in the wrong email address and it comes to me. So when they're filling out their enrollment page, we need to ensure that they are putting in the right email address for year one. Year two, again, we're looking at how we can create those that programming within our system to provide somebody that information that can walk the student through that, either the counselor or the student. So that is something we've heard a lot about, and I see a lot because it does come to my email. So, for the long answer, we are looking into how we can fix that solution or fix that problem going into year two.
I feel bad. A lot of these are Mark-specific questions, ladies, and so just bear tight. We won't leave you out the rest of the time. So, Mark, you and I know that one of the issues we had to deal with internally in year one was an address problem. So, talk to us about what we're doing in year two and in the future to combat that that we had this last year.
So, again, on my desk, there are a lot of letters. Well, now they're under my desk because I have to track them. But students were putting in invalid addresses. We are getting address verification, but it is still important that that the students are putting their proper address, because that is what we are using to mail the letters. So if they put a friend's address or a made-up address or whatever happens, if they put 1, 2, 3, 4 and not their student or their street name, that letter is probably not going to make it to them. So we're getting address verification, but it's still important that the students are putting in the proper address. I had people call and ask me why their letter didn't get delivered, and the student put the totally wrong house number. And so it's just ensuring that they know and they're putting in their correct address, because no matter how much address verification we have, if a student puts in the wrong house number but the right street name, it's going to get mailed to the wrong place. And so just ensuring that our students are putting in the proper address, but we are getting address verification for this year coming up.
Yeah, so I'll echo that. We're putting address verification on the front end. We're putting a system to double check it on the back end, and we're going a third step, mailing these batch letters to the high schools to make sure students get the letters. So we are trying to do everything within our power to make sure that nobody is without. So love this next question. How can other colleges participate if they were not included in this first year? After you make your check out to Dustin Rawls for $6 million, you can no. So Mark, do you want to send them to your personal address or direct.admissions at tn.gov for year two participation?
I would just say both.
So I'm gonna do that for now, and I'll circle back. So that is a sure thing, and I'll circle back with your address later, because when I chat in, it sends me to the end of all the questions, and we're going to get to them. Everybody's putting in answers. Thank you so much. I don't know where I got left off. What happens if a student puts an incorrect GPA on their Promise app, gets admitted to a college, but the real GPA does not allow their admission? So talk to us about GPAs and uploading, and yeah.
So year one, we did have self-reported GPAs. In the language, on the letter, on the website, on the enrollment page, the information provided, the institutions on the student's letter are subject to verification and GPA and providing a transcript and providing all the correct documentation to show what is on, like what is in the file. So if a student has put a wrong GPA in their self-reported GPA, they still have to verify that they have that GPA with the schools. And so at that point in time, it's on the institutions can, say, hey, like, look, this does not match what is on your record. And so we can't give you admission. It's in the language on the letter. It's in the language on our website. It's in the language on the enrollment page. It would be like if a student had a high GPA and then didn't have a good fall semester and their GPA dropped. It is still, the institutions still have the autonomy to look at that and say, hey, like, we're very sorry. And so going forward into year 2, self-reported GPAs will not be on there. We will need the counselors at each school to provide us the GPAs. We will get that system and how we are going to work with that in year 2. But we will need GPAs from the counselors again, like we had last year. And we won't have the self-reported GPA. And so important thing for year 2, the mechanisms that we have in place for a student to get their letter is 1, they complete the Tennessee Promise application. That's how we know they're eligible for us for the direct admissions, and that's how we get our information. But then the second piece is GPA, the TELS 6-semester GPA from the schools. Once we have those 2 things, that's kind of our mechanism to say, hey, here comes the letter. And they'll come in batches. It won't be as soon as that happens, they're getting their letter. There will be like periods of time where we'll pull information. They will get 1 letter. So if they're on the first mailing batch, they won't be on the second, third, or fourth. They'll just get the first letter. And so it will be important that we get the TELS verified GPA from the counselors from at an early date for your students, because that is the mechanism that we have to start the process of mailing the letters.
I'm reading ahead because I'm trying to see that some of the answers are being questions are being answered in the chat in real time as well. So, why can't students see a balance owed on their direct admissions letter? That's a good question.
I can jump in here if you want, Dustin, but I think a lot of people know the answer is we don't know need-based aid yet.
Sure.
I mean, and that is the thing that if I had a magic wand, I would figure out a way that we could give some sort of a proxy or some sort of an estimate of need-based aid. There are some other states that are exploring this and experimenting with it. Washington State, for instance, they passed a law that ties, I think it's like SNAP and other benefit eligibility to their state need-based grant. And they're starting to communicate some of those things. And so, yeah, that to me, that's almost the holy grail of direct admissions, right? If we can get all this other stuff figured out, that would be fantastic. But I think that's probably the most direct answer to the question. But then, of course, there's also institutional based aid. Now, for the pilot year, not all of our institutions included their own institutional based aid in the letters. They weren't ready to do that. And as you all, I'm sure, are aware, that's a very holistic process for a lot of our higher ed institutions. So ours is admittedly very basic in terms of it's just GPA and ACT. So, that's where our institutional advisory group is really helping us understand like what could possibly be a part of this program in the future.
And I would also say from the colleges, and we don't know what tuition is going to be generally until July. So pretty late in the game on our end as far as when the state sets budget and those kinds of things. So a lot of moving parts that we just don't know answers to until later in the fall semester, really.
Great feedback. And so that would be such a wonderful piece of information to include. But what we know, I just don't think that it could ever be included at that point of our timeline for this direct admissions letter. So I'm going to try to, I think I understand, but I may need to do some interpreting for the next question. What happens to a student who gets admitted to a college and would have received academic scholarships, but didn't do the college's regular application to meet the scholarship deadline because they originally weren't interested in that college until they got the direct admission? So, in other words, I think they are getting their letters after some of the deadlines. How are colleges addressing that? I'm pretty sure ours are, Mark, Tanya, I'm going to lean into both of you. So is that clear? At first I read it, I was like, I don't know that I understand that. So are y'all good there?
Yes, and I will answer for Tanya because we talked about this quite a few times. This year, because of when the letters went out, UTC was very generous and was extended their scholarship deadline well past what their scholarship deadline was. In the future, going to year two, and the letters going out earlier and all that, there will be the merit-based scholarship on the letter. And if a school has a scholarship deadline, it will be on the letter also. And on their enrollment page, we'll be given that information out. And so that is also, again, why we wanted to move the Tennessee Promise application up earlier so that the letters will go out earlier. A group of the letters will go out earlier. And so we can meet those scholarship deadlines and making sure that the students are admitted. So for year one, the letters went out. A lot of the institutions were very generous and moved theirs back to ensure that students had that chance. Year two, we will express those dates. And so students will need to have accepted their spot and done all the things at the institutions. If there's a separate application prior to the deadline of what the institution has. Tanya, do you want to speak on your side?
No, I think you exactly said it. So we tried to work with the program this last year to make sure the students didn't miss out, because we wanted to take advantage of the opportunity and make sure that these students had an equal opportunity as well. So I know we are looking at restructuring some things for next year in light of things we learned this year. And so some of that's still in the to be determined a little bit, but I think a lot of us are really trying to make sure this program is a success. And so we are looking at what did our offers look like? How many accept them? Those kinds of things, so that we can, see what changes we need to make at our institution to take the most advantage of this program as possible.
I'm going to roll a couple of questions into kind of a part of conversation. So one of the easiest questions, a direct answer to: are there application fees waived in the direct admission process? The answer is yes. Let's talk about, and so I'm not blowing over, but the answer is yes. Let's talk about direct admissions, Common App, and other platforms that exist, which are multiple applications all at once. Tanya, you and I talked about this a little bit yesterday in our meeting, so I'm going to target it on you, and if Jenna has any feedback too. But our conversation yesterday about what does a counselor school do when there's multiple platforms and programs which are multiple applications at once? What's some advice that you all can offer how to tackle that moving forward?
It's a great question. While yes, the more applications we receive from a student, the more we know they're interested, but at the same time, it causes more problems, especially if they've used different email addresses for every application they've done. They may get created in our system as 2, 3, 4 different students. I mean, I truly have some students who have 4 different applications to UTC for this fall. And we've had to select which one we're, using and going forward. So I think the easiest thing going forward is if they have an offer from the Tennessee Direct Admit, that's the easiest one. Number one, they don't have to pay the fee. Common App, there is a fee. unless you do the fee waiver on there, and which is an additional paperwork for you as a guidance counselor as well to complete that. So, to me, it's kind of a no-brainer that the direct admit would be the easier way to do that. A little less paperwork for you as a guidance counselor. Same thing with our admissions application. There is a fee if you do it. So if you have an offer on Tennessee Direct, I would say do that so you don't have to pay the fee. Now, I'll probably get in trouble later on because, but I would say if it were me, I would do the direct admit app and do that because, like I said, and then you don't need to do the others and don't need to worry about it. But, for most schools, I think most of us were pretty consistent. I know we were down to, by the time I got your name, you were getting communications from us within a week. And so if not, 3 days was my goal most of the time. So I tried really hard to move very quickly when we got those batches in. But typically within a week, our students were hearing from us. So I would say that was my easy answer. I hope that was a good answer.
Yes. Jenna?
Yeah, I can probably speak on that just from the organization side as a counselor. So we use SCORE at my school. I'm not sure, different schools use different things, Naviance, whatever, but I like SCORE a lot. So what I did was any student that scanned their QR code and claimed their spots, I made sure that they, number one, hadn't already applied through SCORE. Like we use our SCORE to track everywhere that students have applied. And so that kind of helped mitigate the double application. And then on the other side, once they did claim their spots, going ahead and adding it in as an applied college and SCORE. That way I could send transcripts easily too. Just keeping it all in one platform made things a lot easier for me. And I imagine next year when students get those letters early, it'll just be like when you claim your spot, and that might be one of the first things they do before they apply anywhere else. And so I'll make sure that they're adding that in SCORE under their applied thing. It really helps. My students are on SCORE early, so that helps because they already know what's going on when they roll into senior year. But yeah, just a one-stop shop makes it the easiest for me too.
We're going to start the process of landing the plane towards wrapping this one up. So I want to do a couple of things. I read through some questions. When the questions come up, when we say statewide year two, do we mean all high school students across the state? Is it just public school students? Is it private school students? Brett, I love it because that means the guy, when he turns the camera on, is it for everybody in year two? Whoop, you muted yourself.
Yes.
Yes. So public school, private school, homeschool, backwoods school, frontwood school, everybody that is a graduating senior in Tennessee is part of the program in year two.
If they complete Tennessee Promise and they're eligible for our state aid, then they are eligible to get a direct admissions letter. It may be different depending on their merit-based criteria, right? And of course, we're going to work with homeschools and homeschool students because we know about the issues with the Hope Scholarship, and it has to be ACT or dual enrollment GPA for them. But we're trying to work through all of that. I want to first of all, before we get cut off here, I want to thank Dr. Taylor Odell. He's been very active in the chat trying to help us reply to a lot of these questions. I think when we saw the list of attendees, we probably should have brought 3 or 4 more people on to try to help with questions. And I'm thrilled with the engagement on this. I did want to address something that I don't know if we described it exactly, but I like the way Jennifer Abernathy asked the question about the timeline. So she asked if it opens early on April 1. Yes, that has been decided, and we are putting that messaging out right now. If they apply early to Promise, they should get a direct admissions mailing in as early as September if their counselor puts their 6th semester Hope Scholarship GPA into our portal. We are providing a secure portal to do that, just like we did for the pilot. If a child does not apply to Tennessee Promise in the spring, then he or she will not receive. We are looking at, and this is not solid yet, but we are looking at if a cutoff date in mid-August, when we have to pull the data. It takes us a good 5 to 10 days to pull that data, test it, make sure that there aren't any glitches or anything there. That's what converts that data to the letter. we get it to our state printing office, and we can get it out hopefully first week of September. So that's what we're looking at right now for that first batch, and then it would be monthly after that. So, as the Tennessee Promise application is open until November 2, students could get letters in late November, early December if they wait that long. And we will not be sending, for non-homeschool students, we will not be sending letters until we get both that both that Tennessee Promise application and that verified GPA, at least those two things. I hope that helps answer some of the questions, especially Jennifer's. I like the way she put it, structure there.
Yeah, one of the other questions that came through that I also liked is clearly the amount of feedback. We expected it, and I will echo Brett, we probably should have had more people being able to bounce back and forth with these questions. So thank you all that jumped in there to provide answers and the chatting back while we're trying to do it in real time in the webinar. So looking forward and I'm going to speak to Mark, Tanya, Brett, and Jenna. Final thoughts for sharing with everybody today. And I will say that before you answer that, one of the other questions that came through, all the questions, we do have FAQs for direct admissions, but I'm going to go back through the chat feature here, pull in some of those questions, update and add that we can share back out. I love that suggestion. So, because I know that we did not get to everything, and I knew that we wouldn't no matter what. So thank you all so much. Please know your questions will not be ignored. I will pull those in. We will answer those and get those put up in our FAQs and answered back out today. I know this also came up. Today's webinar is being recorded. Once we get that put up on our page, we'll send out the link to where any of you can go back and rewatch or share. That'll be available for you all. And so, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I like respecting your time. We are landing the plane. So for Mark, Tanya, Brett, and or Jenna, any final thoughts that you would like to share with our attendees today regarding direct admissions, year 1, year 2, any final thoughts in any particular order?
I'll go last.
Mark goes last.
I can start.
There you go.
I'll say, obviously I am a counselor, so I am with many of you other counselors, and that there's a lot up in the air. There's things I don't know, questions that students have that I don't have the answer to. But what I have been trying to do, and what I will do next year, is just continue to use this both as a tool for my students in increasing access, and really a really helpful tool for me, because it really does take some of the lift off of counselors. At least for, in-state institutions, and for our students who are maybe not as excited about college applications earlier, and haven't been doing a lot of prep work. So I continue to ask questions. I continue to do some research. I continue to text Mark, right? I'm trying to figure it out, but I just am centering myself in this is a really, really amazing tool and is opening access. And that's my goal as a counselor. And so using this as a tool and a partner for me has been helpful, and I am excited for next year too.
I love that. Thank you so much for that enthusiasm. So Mark's claim last. So Tanya, Brett.
Sure. I would just say we're excited. We're looking at doing some things differently next year, as this timeline changes our timeline a little bit of when we start communicating with students about, applications open, it's time to apply for next year. So it is kind of reinvigorating in a way, and changing some of the things that we're looking at doing as an institution, which is exciting. It's a new opportunity. And so we're excited to continue to participate in the program.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'll let Mark go last. I'll just, my staff, I think our folks, they laugh at me. I got to tell you, I am just so impressed with the amount of trust and willingness to try something that really is quite disruptive for our schools, our colleges, and for the, we don't know if this is going to be a game changer, guys. We've just seen it out there across the country, and I think Tennessee's always been a real leader in this kind of thing. But the colleges that chose to go on in this pilot, the way the high schools responded, of the 255 high schools that were selected randomly, we asked them for GPAs, and a month and a half later we had all of them. It was just amazing. And so I read this post once, it was a blog or something about a government agency in some other part of the country, and the mayor was saying how the people in his town never like threw eggs at him when he tried something and it didn't quite work. They were like, hey, you tried it, let's try again. I hope that we as an agency and we as a community across the state can be like that, right? If we see a problem, let's try something new, even if it hurts a little bit, right? And maybe we can figure out a better way, or a way that helps, more students get that lifestyle that we all know will make, their futures and their families' futures better, right? And of course, help with the workforce development in this state. But again, thank you all for attending.
So I just want to reiterate, everybody, I'm just so grateful for you all and your support and your participation and everything in year one. I hope you know that we hear you, we're listening, we're trying to make these changes, and we're trying to move forward with year two and the excitement for year two and expanding and providing all Tennessee seniors of the class of 2027 who are eligible. We're excited for where this can go for year two, but we are grateful for all of you that participated in year one and are continuing to ask questions. So my last two things: one, year one counselors, have those students finish their enrollment form. Get out there and get them through that enrollment form. Again, they have access through their letter and their TSAC student portal. So let's get them moving on that. And the other thing is, I have an office hour every Friday. I won't have it next Friday because it's Good Friday. But again, right after this, I will be jumping on to that. So if you have questions or if you want to talk to me in a one-on-one, I will be there. Jump on. Please come in, talk. I'm here to listen. And again, just very grateful for you all. I can't express that enough. So grateful for the work you all are doing and participating and being a part of this with us.
Thanks, Mark. In conclusion, for everybody, as we're hopping off, I'm proud to work and serve in the volunteer state. It amazes me that without state mandates, we have people from agencies. We're all researchers trying to make Tennessee better. We all hop into things and try things. States marvel at how we are able to accomplish things in Tennessee without somebody forcing us and forcing you to do it. So to be a part of the volunteer state and have the volunteer spirit to be able to go out and tackle big problems and learn and correct and fix. We're grateful. It is a joy to be able to do it. Thank you all for jumping in the ring with us. We're glad that you're here. We're learning together. This will be better for Tennessee, for our Tennesseans, future Tennesseans, our graduates, and they will reap the benefits from our work and our difficulties in these initial years. So thank you all so much for everything you're doing to make Tennessee better for our high school seniors. Thank you for joining today. If you have any questions, follow up, please reach out to us. We'll be glad to help in any way possible. Bless you all. Have a good rest of your day. Thank you so much for joining us.
And Tanya and Jenna, thank you for jumping in with us.
Thank you.
We greatly appreciate you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all.